Hi, I'm Valerie Valentoy.
Bill Quinn.
Bill Quinn. And can you let our audience know what your certifications are?
I am on the faculty in the Department of Biological Sciences. I am a terrestrial ecologist. My PhD is in forestry from North Carolina State University in 1983.
Nice. I love North Carolina. And you're here to talk to us about water conservation and environmental impact?
That's correct.
In Texas, what would you say is the number one concern regarding water usage?
I think that in Texas, within the next decade, we will be using far more water than we can provide, given current rates of use. And so I think that the state leaders should come up with policies by which they manage water and govern its use in a way that is much more sustainable.
Now, when you say that we're using more water than we generally have, at one point in time, did we have more waterways available that weren't necessarily polluted or used primarily for recreational purposes?
At one point, did we have more water?
Well,
or less polluted water?
Less polluted water, I guess.
Yes, we did, but that's not so much the issue. The water we use, the water crisis that we are facing, doesn't have so much to do with water quality. That can be addressed to a degree. It's simply a question of growing appetite for a dwindling resource, or at least a limited resource. We can't get any more water to flow into the state, and in some cases we are pumping our aquifers drier than they've been. So it's a question of supply and demand. We cannot meet the demand with the supply we have.
For just in terms of, I guess, development, we went over how developing on top of the aquifers did affect water quality. There have been examples that I'm aware of, like out in Lexington, Texas, where they're mining for coal and it's affecting the wells around the area. Should we implement some kind of policy to protect our water systems? Is that something that people, you think, in your opinion, in Texas are primarily concerned with?
My background is limited, but even with a limited background, I'm a firm believer that not causing a problem is cheaper than undoing the problem. Water is going to be extremely expensive and valuable. It's going to be much more cost effective to protect it and not render it useless rather than to try to clean it up to the point it is useless. So I think it's a cost-effective means in the very near term to not pollute that water to pollute our reservoirs, our groundwaters to any substantial degree, because it's going to be very scarce. Clean water for human consumption is going to be very scarce.
Do you feel that there need to be radical alterations in our policies on water usage, such as how we govern who owns water and how they can use it?
Yes. If that's radical, what we have is a pretty radical situation as it is. So the rule of capture seems to be not a very productive, and it's not a productive means by which we control our use of water. So, yeah, I think we need to completely redo that before it's complete.
What would your proposal look like if you had to create one off the top of your head?
I would.
You seem like you might have been thinking about it for a while, so.
These are fighting words, and it gets even more contentious the farther west you go. And there are wars that start over water. Mm-hmm. There are people who have rights to water, and what I'm proposing would limit or very much reduce their rights, because they have the right, if they have an artesian, if they have a well, they have the right to pump as much as they possibly can. And I think that needs to be reconsidered. I don't know if I answered your question,
no,
but that's what I think, and I think that's a serious issue that's going to be facing lots of our state's leaders, is how do you retract people's existing rights?
Understandable. There are places in the world where water is luxury in here. We tend to think of it as just very basic, and we kind of take it for granted in a way.
We don't value it.
Definitely not. Do you think that in America within the next, say, 20, 40 years, there's going to be some kind of more value just placed upon it, or how long do you think
That's
that?
a good question.
How long do you think that it would take us to realize the worth of water?
I think that answer varies depending on the region.
Mm.
I think in the western United States, there's a much greater sense of awareness about the value of water and how it's managed than there is in the eastern United States, because in general in the eastern United States, water is much more plentiful. Even though there are more people there, it's much more plentiful than it is here, except on a seasonal basis. So I think there is no time at which the United States will come to a realization. There will be a time in Texas, I think within the next 10 years, when our citizens will seek what you referred to as radical changes to an existing situation, because there will be big changes.